Hi guys, Goffy here and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I want to show you guys how I edit my images in Lightroom. Now, I am conscious that this video might come across like a Lightroom preset pack sales pitch, and I really don't want that to be the case, but my process is very different to most other people out there because of the way my preset pack has been made. And you don't actually have to buy my preset pack to be able to enjoy this video. It might just give you an idea about how a kind of alternative process might actually be a process that suits you, and there's nothing stopping you from doing similar with your own presets. So I want to spend less time talking today and more time doing, so we're just going to hop straight onto my MacBook now and let's have a play around in Lightroom. Right then guys, so now we're over at my MacBook, let's dive straight into Lightroom. Now in Lightroom here, I've just got some example images that we're going to play around with today. To begin with, I'm going to have to show you guys how this preset pack works because it's fundamental to how I edit my images. If we actually have a look at this preset pack, it is full of a whole bunch of presets. In total, there's something like 50 of them, but they are all under separate headers. At the very top, we've got basic adjustments, and underneath that, we've got 6 variations. We've then got some tone curves, and underneath that, there is 7 variations. What's actually happening here is that if we look at the basic adjustments, as we look at different versions of it, all it is doing is affecting the light area of Lightroom and nothing else. So you might go down these presets and decide, you know what, I really like basic adjustment 2. If we then have a look at the tone curves, there is 7 of these tone curves, and all these tone curves do is affect the tone curve area of Lightroom. So if we go down these tone curves and decide, you know, I really like tone curve 1, and we click that, you'll now see these 2 presets have actually stacked on top of each other. We have the basic adjustments and the tone curves now affected and nothing else. So what this means then is you can stack up one of each preset on top of each other to make an image. Now, if you decide that you don't like a part that you've selected, if you click the header, it will reset that section. So let's say we didn't like the tone curve 1 that I've clicked. If we click the tone curve header, it resets the tone curve back to default, but leaves the light settings as we had them. So the idea is then you can select one thing under each of these headers. Now, them headers are basic adjustments that affect the light tools, tone curves that affect the tone curves. We've then got color adjustments. All that does is affect the color mixer, the vibrance and the saturation. We then have color grades, which affects, as you probably guessed, the grading tools. We have then got image effects, which affects the effects area and the detail area. And we've then got a whole bunch of others. So we've got some black and whites and some favorites that we're going to come back and talk about later. So the idea is then, if you want to edit an image, you can actually just run through and select one of each. It's important to remember though that you don't actually have to select one of every one. Sometimes I think if you go and select a basic adjustment, a color grade, a tone curve, by the time you layer them all up, the effect just overwhelms the image a little bit. So looking at this image here then, I think I really like basic adjustment 2. And I might like, let's say, tone curve 4. But you can see tone curve 4 in this has a really strong effect, and most of the tone curves have been set up to be pretty strong in terms of how they look. But if you click tone curve 4, what you can do is change the amount slider. Now, I doubt you'll ever go to the extreme end, but what I often find myself doing is dialing back just a little bit. So I think in the middle, tone curve 4 is a bit strong, but by the time you get to about 60, I really like the way that looks. You then might scroll down and decide, you know what, I really want a color grade on this image as well. And let's say, maybe we'll go with color grade 4. Again, I think the look's a little bit strong, so if we want to, we can dial it back just a little bit. So this is how I've been editing my images. I've got this preset pack that's full of lots of different sections, and at max, I can pick one from each. So let's have a go then with another image. We'll have a look at this image from Budapest. We can see it's already got an edit applied to it. So what I'm actually going to do is go to the top and click my reset all preset. Now, there is a keyboard shortcut for this, but I just quite like having it at the top to reset all. So to begin with, I'm going to run through my basic adjustments and pick a basic adjustment that I like the best. And I think in this case, it's probably going to be basic adjustment 2. I like the fact that basic adjustment 2 is lifting up the shadows a little bit and really dropping down the highlights because there's some pretty bright highlights in here. If we then come down to tone curves also do affect the color because I've changed the red, green and blue tone curves as well. So some of these are going to have some pretty strong color effects too. Now, I really like tone curve 4 here, but it is way too strong. So let's dial it right back down so that it's far more subtle. You might decide that you don't really want a color adjustment. I actually really like how the colors in this image look at the minute. I think they look quite nice. I don't think I really want to manipulate them too much. And then when we come down to color grades, I really like color grade 1. And for me personally, this is pretty much this image done. Now, it is worth noting that this preset pack never affects white balance. I've decided not to affect it because white balance can be pretty subjective in terms of what you want, and you might purposely shoot at an incorrect white balance. So if you've got an image that is clearly wrong in the first place, you probably want to fix your white balance first before you start layering other things up. Otherwise the image will probably just never look good. So for me personally, with this image, it's currently still set as shot. I think I'd quite like just a little bit of extra warmth in here. So I'm gonna up that just a little bit. And I think for me personally, this is just about done. Next up then, we're gonna have a play around with some image effects and have a look at favorites. So we're gonna have a look at this image here of Claire, and we're gonna go to the top and we're gonna reset all. So back to defaults again. Now, in section 5, we've got these different image effects, and all these are really doing is messing around with the effects and detail section of the tools. Now, one of my favorite ones for me is Portrait Soften. Now, you can see all this is really doing is messing around with the texture and clarity, but I find that modern sensors and modern lenses are sometimes just a little bit too sharp for portraits. So what you can do then is you can again change the amount with this. I actually quite like the default setting here, and it's softened up my portrait to begin with. There's some other things in here as well that make your images look a little bit more like film. Sometimes there's some noise reduction settings in here as well if you've got like a really noisy image and you want it to kind of reduce down the noise, but you want to have it on a bit of a slider so it's affecting more than just one tool. So again, what we're going to do is we're going to have a quick run down this, and I'm going to go with basic adjustment 6, probably just a little bit too strong. Curve 1 I think, but again, way too strong. So we're going to make this quite subtle. And I really like color grade 4. It's one of my favorites here. So again, we've edited this image really quickly, and I feel like this gives you that kind of middle ground between a one-click preset that kind of just never works and having to edit from scratch every day. You can still have that flexibility of setting up lots of different settings and changing your image based on how you feel, but you don't have that restriction of just that one click and hope it looks good. Now, what you might have seen in a recent video of mine is I had a whole bunch of codes on the bottom of my images. Now, if we have a look at one of those, this image from that video, you can see at the bottom it says BA1, TC4 and CA1. Now what I'm doing here is telling you exactly what I use to edit this image. So if we hop into Lightroom and we go to that image, which was this one, and we're going to reset all, so it goes back to defaults, we're going to click BA1, tone curve 4, and color adjustment 1. And you can see we've edited it exactly the same as it was in my video. So that's why I'm providing those codes at the bottom. So if you do buy the pack and you see an image of mine and you think you really like the colors, you should be able to replicate that look by clicking the right features. So then guys, the last thing I want to show you then is my favorite section. And all my favorite section is the preset stacks that I've made in the past that I really liked saved. So if we open up another one of the images, let's go with this one over here and head to the presets, and we're going to reset all, just make sure nothing was applied, and scroll down to the bottom. Under section 7, you can see I've got a whole bunch of my favorites. Now, if you do buy the pack online, this comes with a few of these built in, Kodak Portrait being one of them. I really like the way this looks. And all this really is a combination of the presets above saved so that I don't always need to remember my favorite combinations. What we're going to quickly do then is we're going to make our own. We're going to run through and find what we like. Basic adjustment 2, tone curve 4, but we're going to tone that right back down, somewhere in the middle, color grade 6. So I really like this and I find myself using this combination a lot. What I'm going to do is go to the little plus symbol at the top, and I'm going to name it 7 space hyphen space and then give it a name. So we'll give this, I don't know, we'll call it Prague Colors, and click save. Now what this will mean is I go down to my section 7, I will now have Prague Colors saved. You can actually see I've got 2 of these. I must have come up with that name twice now. But this is the way that I can then save my favorite combinations so that if I do want one-click presets, I don't always have to build a stack. So then guys, that is how I edit my images in Lightroom, and hopefully you've got some value out of seeing an alternative process. It's not like a one-stop preset, click the button and hope it works, and it's not editing from scratch every day. It's somewhere in the middle that offers the kind of bests of both. If you've enjoyed this video though guys, please do not forget to like and subscribe. There's plenty more Fuji and Leica content coming in the very near future. Thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.